the Evergreen Media Network studios, brought to you by Evergreen Media, creating cohesive marketing campaigns. Evergreen Media in Vero Beach.
Treasure Coast Connector, connecting residents and businesses of the Treasure Coast. And here's your host, Ellen Contreras.
Welcome to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras. Treasure Coast Connector is the talk show and online community where we put a spotlight on interesting local businesses and resources, then connect them to you, the consumers in the community. Everyone has an interesting story of why they do what they do. When we learn about what's happening in our own backyard and support local businesses, it strengthens our local economy. For details on the show, links to discounts, promos, past interviews, check out www.tcconnector.com. The success of a business depends on multiple factors, one of which is talented and engaged employees. Pat Heydlauff, the Renaissance woman, understands this very well because prior to launching Heydlauff Enterprises, she was the CEO of a nonprofit and the executive director of a national trade association in the health and food industry. And she's here to talk about how she helps business owners to increase their profitability and sustainability through her coaching services and her book, 21 Ways to Increase Employee Engagement. And she has her sixth book about to come out, the sixth book, and there's more behind that. And you're going to talk about these books. And welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Ellen. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, you were here a few months ago.
I was.
And but you know what I'd like to do, even though I asked you this question, there's always new people listening. So I would love for people to know about the transformative work that you do and how you help people individually with their lives in general, spirituality, and the workplace. So why did you want to get involved in this?
Oh, I wanted to get involved first to help me. I mean, it made such an incredible difference in my life once I was able to slow down long enough to smell the flowers, so to speak, and realize that there was more to work than the 24-hour-a-day merry-go-round or the roller coaster that you live on often when you're in a very high, stressful world. And being the executive director of a not-for-profit organization means you have 20 bosses if there were 20 board members, and everything that goes right is always their credit, and everything that goes wrong is always your fault. So it causes a lot of stress and anxiety. At the same time, I had teenage children at home, and I also had a husband that was starting to show signs of dementia. So lots of stress. And so my first real goal was to find something better for me that would help me transition through all of this. And then as I was speaking, help my clients find a better way to live their lives and run their businesses.
Oh, absolutely. And I am sure that with all the traveling you have done, that you have more travel points on your cards, your travel programs, and you know what to do with. Right?
Well, to a point, yes. I have been blessed and have been able to visit almost all 50 of our states in the process of work. So I feel that's really nice to be able to see your own country that way.
Oh, absolutely. So now when business owners get together, they love to talk shop, even if they're in like different industries. Right. And one of the biggest issues that they all face is the challenge of finding the right people for their company. And then when they get a team, it's getting that cohesiveness put together so that they're all working together for the benefit not only of themselves, but for the company, right? I mean, people, when they're working, they want to feel like they're part of a team.
Absolutely.
So now, what inspired you to write the book, 21 Ways to Increase Employee Engagement?
What inspired me, I believe, is first of all to put on record some of the things I experienced personally in the process of hiring and retention. And then again, as I was out speaking more and more, a lot of people maybe had small businesses, even worked out of their homes, or they were growing their businesses. And they were just kind of fumbling forward, not knowing what to do. And I decided to create a few simple ways that they can use these as tools to move forward, because not only is it about finding the right people, it's about the retention issue. It costs a lot of money to train people and then to lose them and start all over again and train them. And so much of this happens in the workplace environment. You need to create an environment where they're first informed, feel like they're part of a team, and then want to improve as they move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially when someone has been with a company for a little while, all of that intellectual property that walks out with them.
Absolutely.
And it's also a way of finding out when someone starts with a company, learning who they are and their capabilities.
That's right.
Because then maybe they can be plugged into other positions. Sometimes bosses don't realize this until after someone leaves.
That's right.
And then they went, wow, they would have been good in this position or that position.
Yeah, it's very interesting. I think the first place I begin with every potential client is they need to have a vision, and that vision needs to be very crisp and clean. And that vision needs to be explained to their prospective employee and their existing employees so that they can understand what their role is. For example, if you're a mechanic on an airplane, if you don't do your job right, that could mean people could be hurt, people could lose their lives. The same happens if you're working in a greenhouse. If the water main breaks and you don't fix it, instead decide 2 days later to just check on it, by then you may have lost half of your crop. It's really important to see what an integral role each employee plays. That makes them feel much more valuable when they understand what their part is. And then you can start to evaluate whether they can do a good job if they move up. One of the biggest mistakes I think employers make is promoting a worker from the current job they have to a boss when they may not be boss material. They've lost a good employee because now their worker is no longer doing the original job, and they don't have a good boss either. And so they lose both positions. And then you move from that step of that basic vision to what about the workplace itself? How does it look? How does it feel? How comfortable is the furniture? Is it placed properly? Do they have to walk 16 miles down a long corridor to get something as simple as paper clips or refills of paper for their printers? So you start with the vision, then the importance of the role, and then you move on to where that person actually is placed physically within the company.
Yeah, and if somebody wants to assume, let's say, a management position, an entry level, maybe it could be a team lead, and then, a manager. But if that boss, if the owner of the business puts in place some training, then
That's right.
maybe the aptitude, and of course there's testing for aptitude, and if the aptitude is there, then giving them the tools that they can use to learn in the position.
Yeah, there are lots of tools out there now that weren't there some as recently as just a few years ago, some maybe further back. So the tools are there. I personally focus more on the physical functioning space. What is standing in the way of the energy and focus of that employee? What is distracting them? What will bring them back into focus?
Very true. Very true. So now you write about something called the flow of focus. This is a great segue. So what is the flow of focus, and how does it affect the workspace?
The flow of focus is where the energy of you as the leader or the energy of the employee is going. Focus is a little like eyesight. It goes from place to place to place. Unfocused energy is a little like the Mississippi River. It'll break through all the barriers. It'll flood land. It'll flow down into the Gulf of Mexico. Could be creating a lot of havoc. But if it's properly controlled, It can create energy. It can create growth of new plants and food. So I like to think of the flow of focus in the office much like you might consider the river. The focus has to be on what you, the business, wants the focus to be on, not the last text phone call or the last family argument or whatever popped up on the screen that is all of a sudden distracting that employee. Everybody is focused. They're always focused on something. You just need to make sure they're focused on what you want and what's in the best interest of your business and the company.
Very true. And sometimes, because I worked for years ago a Japanese company, and your desk had to be clean and everything had to be in a certain spot on your desk, which is great visually. But what happens if someone has a whole bunch of papers crammed in their desk? That also affects, you don't see it, but it has a negative effect on the person.
Absolutely, because it's unattended to work. It may be finished, but it's not finished till it's put away. Or maybe it's stacks of stuff they're hiding that need to be gotten to and are still there. But the clarity of information on the top of the desk, its cleanliness, and the ability of you or your employee to focus on the important. And I really like to stress, you want to focus on the important, not the urgent.
Right. So now, energy drainers, that's what these are.
That's right.
You are just moving ahead in these questions beautifully. Wonderful segues with what you just said. And energy drainers, what are they? Give me a list of energy drainers in an office.
Gosh, they can be anything from the stacks of files that we just spoke of. They can be things like improperly placed equipment, even on your desk. Maybe the computer is not lined up with the other pieces of information you regularly use. Maybe you happen to use an old-fashioned adding machine, and it may be on the back side of your desk when you're working on this side most of the time. Your chair can be facing back toward a door, which always distracts your focus no matter what. Literally having to stroll down the office corridor just to get supplies can be a problem. And if there are a whole stack of boxes along the way that are all filing or new materials coming in, they're a distraction. Technology can be a distraction. Every time the cell phone rings, does your employee answer the phone? Do you break your focus and answer the phone? In some ways, it's a top-down process, and in some ways, it's a bottom-up process. You want to be efficient. You want to be effective, because that's how you get to productivity and profitability.
I understand. All righty. I was going to do that, Cindy. She's prompting us to take a break. But we have a lot more to discuss about the 21 ways to increase employee engagement written by Pat Heydlauff when we return. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Riverside Theater, where musicals and plays dazzle and amaze, and where kids can learn the craft from pros. Riverside Theater for Kids allows students to develop as actors year-round. Riverside's Comedy Zone features stand-up comedy, a hilarious way to spend a Friday or Saturday. Riverside's Live in the Loop is an outdoor concert voted #1 for weekend fun. And on the big stage, Riverside Theater's all-new season is set, with season and single tickets on sale now. Discover more at riversidetheater.com.
If you dream of creating a home with furniture where you make life one long weekend, visit Sunshine Furniture now and save 50% on all Tommy Bahama and Lexington during the fall savings event. Bedroom, living, and dining room, home office, media, and occasional furniture that is inviting and comfortable, Tommy Bahama and Lexington offer everything you need to furnish your Florida home. We're also having a huge half-price fall sale on lots of other coastal furniture by Universal, Hooker, Riverside, Seawinds, and Capri, including big sales on patio furniture by Berlin Gardens, Lloyd Flanders, Telescope, Kingsley Bait, and Windward. All pictures, lamps, and accessories are half price, and in-stock rugs are on sale too. Sunshine Furniture, 1295 US 1 in Vero Beach, next to Planet Fitness. Visit our website at sunshinefurniturecasual.com and be sure to shop our outlet store directly across the street.
Sunshine Furniture, the best in every way. Have a sunshine day. Sunshine.
Hi, Leah Waldo's. And guess what? We're open! Yes, all the renovations are complete, and Waldo's is back to its normal schedule. So come on by, check out the new dining room. It is amazing. Brought to you by Unicorn Epoxy. So come check us out. Come have your cocktail, your voodoo bucket, and don't forget to ask about your Waldo's Loves the Local card. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. Come on down. We're back. Thanks.
Welcome back to Treasure Coast Connector. I'm your host, Ellen Contreras, and I've been chatting with Pat Heydlauff of Heydlauff Enterprises about her book. This is one of 6, 21 ways to increase employee engagement, and we're going to go right back into it. But I do want, because I always like to try to do it in the first half, is include how, for people that are listening,
right,
you know, the podcast and iHeart, how do they get in touch with you?
They can simply go to my website, patheydlauff.com. They can check out my YouTube channel where this podcast will be up and running in a little bit. They can find me on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, all the social media sites, but patheydlauff.com is where you want to go.
Very good. And I just want them to know that it's spelled Patheylaudff. Did I get that right? No, I didn't. No.
Heydlauff.
Okay, that was a test, and boy, did you pass that. But I do want to say it again one more time. So it's Patheylaudff.com.
Absolutely.
Very good.
Right on.
It's always better to say it a third time. Yes, I'm doing so good with my names today. Okay, and I never won a spelling bee. I just want you to know. I never did.
I'll let you get away with that.
Thank you. So now we were talking about increasing employee engagement. So now what is the best way for a leader or a manager to focus the team's engagement?
Right back to that very first step. Make sure there is a perfectly clear vision that the company is going after. And if you've never done a vision, I can't encourage you enough to make sure you have clarity for the vision, because that is what everything kind of tumbles down from or includes. Because once you have the vision, it's very easy to start guiding your employees on making sure their equipment is working, making sure the area is clean, and so they feel comfortable. They can do little things to spruce up their workspace and make it a little more personal, but it has to be limited. You need clear space for people to actually function well. And even a clear desktop on your computer, because if you have too much stuff on it or too many things open, that also makes you bounce all over your screen to think, who's texting me or who's just sent me an email, versus staying focused on your work. And if you're in a physical workplace where safety is important, obviously that is another whole issue that needs to be dealt with. But first of all, you need to have the vision. Secondly, you need to have the ability to have your employees understand what their important role is. And then third, give them the supplies and the information they need to do a good job. Keep them focused on the important, not the urgent. Urgent is going to be there every day, all the time.
Right.
Focus on the important, and then make time at the end of the day to do the urgent.
Okay, well, very good. And now when it comes to the book, I know that a lot of people are leaning forward. They're waiting to hear how they can get their hands on 21 ways to increase employee engagement.
Well, you certainly can order it from patheydlauff.com.
Okay.
And it's on Amazon. Ingram Books carries it, which means every bookseller should be able to order it if they don't happen to stock it in their store. And I'd be happy to autograph them if they would like an autograph.
Oh, very nice. So that they can go to your website, they can purchase it, and then there's a notation there that they would like the signed copy.
Absolutely. I'd be happy to do that for any client.
I like that. Very nice. Okay, so now the second part of that is, let's say that somebody has read your book, they feel very much empowered, okay, and they're ready to move forward, but maybe they might need a little bit of help, and they want you to help them directly. So how do you work with them?
Fantastic. I love working with my clients because they really care. They want to move forward. One of my clients, who is a holistic healing center and a well-being center, has I've brought to show them 2 different clips of how I work with them. And we start with the vision, always with the vision, and then go to their floor plans.
Okay.
So the first floor plan should show what I did when I first walked in the door.
Okay.
I create like a road map, and on the screen you'll see what this client's office looked like the first time. And you notice I use all the 8 primary directions,
Right.
and they all play a role in what is effective in moving energy in that space. I was just in Sarasota this past weekend to celebrate her grand opening.
Oh.
That was her east wing, which was 1 room and is still there. But when you look at the second drawing, this has become her west wing, and she now has 5 more offices where she works with her clients. It is absolutely amazing. It was just wonderful to see. So she has multiplied her growth and her income and her space and her serving her clients 5 times in probably about 1.5 to 2 years.
Wow, a 5-time growth rate within a year and a half?
Yes. And I was over there to speak at her grand opening, and then she had this big ribbon cutting ceremony with the local mayor. So it was just fantastic to help her in this process and walk her through the steps to make sure, especially in the area of health, that the energy was flowing properly in her business to support the end result, which was creating a better well-being for her client.
Yeah, and that also marks you as the sustainability and profitability queen.
That's true.
The Renaissance woman that you are.
Renaissance woman that I am. I love doing this kind of work for clients because it makes such a difference in their lives. In the book, there are also some diagrams about various floor plans
that we brought in.
Yes, it will show the basic diagram of a basic office. It lays out the direction your desk should face, where your chair should be in relationship to the door, so your back is never to the door. And I would raise mountains if I had to get your office situated in a way that protects you and encourages you to do the best job ever. Also in the book is a story about an attorney who I worked for.
2 minutes? We have 60 seconds for this
story. Let me hold this up really quick. This is an attorney's office who did more business in the last 4 months of his tenure as managing attorney than he did in the whole previous year after we did his office.
Okay, all righty. So www.PATHEYDLAUFF.com. And if you want to increase the profitability and sustainability of your business, you need this book, and then work with you directly.
I'd love to.
I'm just saying that that's a must if you're serious about your business. I'm very bossy. I'm pointing at people through the camera. That's really not very nice. But I wanted to say thank you very much for being
Very
here.
welcome.
But we're going to take, can we take 20 seconds to talk about the 6th book? We're not going to do a title yet because it's coming out in a few weeks, but
Yes.
there's a 6th book.
There is definitely a 6th book, and it's the most experiential book I've ever written. It was written with one of my spiritual guides, and it was an ongoing conversation where through experiences, this guide took me into a lifestyle that is suited for creating heaven on earth in the 21st century.
I like heaven on earth in the 21st century. So now that people have your website, that is how you're going to get to Pat Heydlauff. My name is Ellen Contreras, host of Treasure Coast Connector. I hope everyone has a wonderful week. Until next week, I miss you already.